Yes.
Can you define the terms androgynous and hermaphrodite?
Yes. Generally, a hermaphrodite is one single being that has both genders. Okay, whereas androgynous is almost the opposite. It's either a person where you look at them and you can't really tell if they're male or female, and maybe they don't have quite either one fully developed. Is that, I'm looking at my kids back there like, how much can I actually explain this? Sorry. Yes.
Back in 1967, there was a kid named Kate Reamer, and a famous experiment was performed on this boy. When he was born, or shortly after he was born, the circumcision wasn't done exactly the way she was done. It was botched. And they tried to raise him as a girl. At age 14, he realized he wasn't a girl. Actually, he had feelings before then that he wasn't a girl, and he ended up committing suicide in his 30s. And therefore, I just want to bring that to your attention because we brought up Rosalina, now known as Caitlin. The dangers of this transgenderism that's going on out there, or the transhumanism, it started way a long time ago. They knew what they were doing. The doctor hid a lot of evidence and squashed it, and the parents actually were victimized, but they went along with it. And just to bring that to your attention, this has been going on for a very long period of time.
Very long time, and it's just, the thing is it's being accelerated.
Yes.
So that now you have children under the age of 10 with parents saying, hey, we want to decide to change their gender. But even older kids, even in their late teens, what if they're just going through a phase of confusion for a couple of years, and then they'll revert back to what they're, how they were born? What if you put them through an operation? And oh, by the way, let me throw this in. Sex change operation, now they're known as sex reassignment surgeries. Number one country, Malaysia. Don't care about that. I'm more interested in the second most operations. Second country, I would ask you to guess, but you'll never guess. It's Iran. Why is that? I know you won't hear this in the media, but Islam condemns homosexuality. So it's illegal in Iran to be homosexual, but if you get the sex reassignment surgery, right, that solves the problem. Now you're the opposite gender. You see that? Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a much more complex issue what's going on right now. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
I know that so much of a question, such a point that
Feel free.
it's a denial of reality that no matter what gender reassignment surgery a person goes through, or no matter what the feelings are, the X and the Y chromosomes are still the X and the Y chromosomes, and it seems like we just see the fallout of the mushroom cloud of such decisions to ignore reality.
Yeah, like somebody said, if now Caitlyn Jenner commits a crime and they test the blood, well, what would it test as? Well, it's going to test as male, of course. But see, it's this concept, like this figure was just saying in the movie, virtual reality is more than just a cyber world. It's another dimension. And so you're saying it's denying reality. Exactly. That's exactly the point, is to deconstruct God's created reality and recreate a new one in our own image. If I don't want 2 + 2 to equal 4, it won't. Yeah. It's pretty shocking. Yes?
I've got a propaganda question. You presented a lot of stuff here. Is there maybe an outline or a summary of this on your website? If not, a useful thing, just because this is my first introduction to all this. It's a little more than I can process all at once. But the question is,
okay, let me answer that first. As far as whether I have an outline or something, believe me, the most difficult thing in presenting this was narrowing down. Up to yesterday, I was removing things from the talk to just try as hard as I could to make it accessible and user-friendly. That's why I used a lot of videos, because I thought this will help to really get the idea across. And, if you go to truefreethinker.com, I do have a section specifically on transhumanism, and then one specifically on post-genderism. So there's two where you'll drown in the information in there. And in transhumanism, anymore when I watch movies, I find myself writing down, okay, at 1 hour, 5 minutes, 30 seconds in, they said something about evolution. And so then later I can go edit that and just to put these really short videos out showing people, look at what it says in this movie. Out of like a 2 hour long movie, maybe there's 3 minutes worth of something that's really essential to this point that you might just miss if you're just eating your popcorn and saying it's just for fun and then I'm out of here and I'll never think about it. Yeah. So go ahead with the question.
One of the things that stood out was, I don't know who the guy was that he was talking about how I'm going to become God if you get in my way. I mean,
That's right.
Is that a very prominent person, and is that a very prominent movement? I mean, I'm thinking like in the political sense, is there a movement or, that is trying to get political power?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. 2016, we're seeing the first transhumanist party put up a candidate for the presidency of the United States. Okay, so yeah, you could say, well, this guy, I mean, nobody's even heard of him. Yeah, today nobody has. Who knows what will happen 4 years from now? Also, unless you go looking for this kind of information, you're not going to run across it. I mean, have any of you guys been watching the news and all of a sudden they're talking about transhumanism? It just doesn't happen. And if it does, you're likely to not even recognize it because it'll be like, well, today this lab reported that they achieved this technological breakthrough and there it is, okay? Part of that is compartmentalization so that you have this component and hey, we developed this component. Next news story. Well, you don't know what that component is a small part of, and what is being told to you, the actual device is for this, but really it can also be used for who knows what. Because that's part of how it works, is if you're working on a component, you might not know it's a small part of what exactly. Well, that's not your place. It's the higher up that knows that, and then there's a higher up to the higher up. And one of them says, well, we're building it to carry out this task. Yeah, but someone else knows that they can apply it toward another task. And so this is all really big behind the scenes. Like the post-gender movement. When I started reading about that, I thought, I bet nobody knows about this stuff. And it's just slowly, through education, through socio-political movements, through even 1984 George Orwell style newspeak, right? You find out our language is being changed. My brother's an engineer, and he says we're having to change contract terminology. We can't say he in the contract anymore. We have to say there. He said, we can't even use the term manhole. We have to say something like maintenance access entry, right? So you're being made to see if the words you can use are restricted, then your thinking is restricted. And we're being forced into thinking about people in a very different way, where now you can't even identify somebody as a boy or a girl, because now you're just restricting them. It's very restrictive and it's narrow-minded, and throw in all these fun words that people used to put you down. Yes.
You injected the concept of the Mishnah in your talk, and I missed the point that you were trying to make there.
Yes, okay, so I wanted to mention the Kabbalah, but I was given a background as to what that actually was. And so the point was that the Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism, and it is claimed that up in Sinai, Moses received mystical teachings he was not supposed to write down, but he was supposed to pass down orally. just like before the Kabbalists, the rabbinic Jews, with rabbinic Judaism coming to be in Babylon during the diaspora there, they made the same kind of claim, that we have the Mishnah, which is the oral tradition given way back there to Moses. And we have that, and now we're going to comment on it, and then we're going to put that together into the Talmud. So that was the point, is how whenever somebody wants to lend authority to whatever they want to believe, they'll claim, well, it really comes from way, way, way back to somebody of importance. That's why you have so many apocryphal books who say, oh, this is the book of whatever, the Apocalypse of Isaiah. Well, Isaiah didn't have anything to do with it. You know, the Apocalypse of Peter. Well, Peter didn't write anything like that. But it's apocryphal, and then you slap an important name on it, and it's supposed to lend it an air of authenticity. So that was the point about the Mishnah. It was just Rabbinic Judaism's claim to have the Bible plus their traditions. And the Kabbalists say, well, we have the Bible plus the Rabbinic Jewish traditions plus the mystical traditions. Yeah. Yes?
Early in your talk, you had videos of people like professors or scientists, stating whatever is. And I just wondered in what context these people were giving their lectures or talks. Was it a scientific meeting? Was it in a university? Or where were these authorities doing their thing?
I'm glad you asked that, because I realized I didn't answer part of his question, where you have people being so blunt and aggressive, such as that I'm going to become a transhuman god, and if you try to get in my way, right? And that was my point about my cyborg experience with the car, is if all of a sudden you're just much more intelligent and physically capable than the mere mortal, so far beyond your capability to understand that, you see, this is why they see this coming conflict between people who want to maintain their mere humanity and like the Ubermensch, right? They're these supermen, literal supermen. That I would say is a rare thing, that somebody would be that blunt and that upfront and that aggressive. Generally, it would just be sold to us, as in the beginning of the talk, I showed the videos about, well, you could help people that are handicapped, and what if you have a child with developmental problems, we can help them. See, that's how it's sold. It's the PR front is very positive, and you'll look really bad if you say, no, we can't let this happen. Really? We can't help children? We can't help the handicapped? Really? That's your position? Okay, so I would say that's more common. What is more rare is the people who just say, yeah, I'm going to become a god and a super robot, and I'll crush you if I have to. Most of those clips came out of documentaries. So for whatever reason, at those moments, they felt like, hey, I'm just going to open up and really say what I want. One of the documentaries was called Building Gods, and one was called Technocalypse, like apocalypse, but with Technocalypse. Those mostly I got those from those two. And if you have sufficient funds, you can figure out where their conferences are, and that's when they're just preaching to the choir. So they're very open about integrating spirituality and technology and their various goals. Yes.
A lot of this, further on your question, is being done at the higher level universities, and is being done in their conferences, and then they bring it back and they piecemeal it into the freshman biology course.
Bless you.
Okay, when you come into freshman biology, the first introduction is, my grandson just did this 2 years ago. year and a half ago. He bought his college biology book, and he brought it to me before he went to the first class, and he says, "Grandpa, I don't know how I'm going to study this because it's nothing but evolution." And then when he got there, the professor asked them if they had their books. And they said, "Yes. We're not going to use it very much because there's not enough evolution in it." And that was at CNM just 18 months ago. And I've had my grandson living in my house now for 5 years. He came out of a home that was using these teachings, so I'm not foreign to this. And so, because of that, I have been, and let's use the correct term, re-indoctrinating him. Okay? He is now a very strong Christian based upon creation science. And because of this, by the end of the 4th week, the professor got to one of these slides like this up here, and he says, "This is an evolutionary slide. We don't need to discuss this anymore. We've already discussed it." And later in the same presentation, he said, "You know, evolution is just a theory. It's not been proven." And from there on, there was very little evolution brought out in that biology class. I have another granddaughter that was under that professor the next session. He was in it in the fall, she was in it in the spring. And this same professor started out his class by saying, "Last semester I had a young man in my class who would never believe in evolution. He would not believe in it. I don't know why he would not believe in it. And the thing that amazes me even more is he got the top grades in the class. And I got the rest of the Paul Harvey story from my granddaughter."
That actually is a very strong movement in education right now, is the concept that evolution is the driving engine behind biology, so why talk so much about biology? Let's push evolution. It's
Not just in biology class, by the
but
way.
you would have thought, okay, what evolution, I mean, it's integrated into biology already in the textbooks, but there's a movement right now that's very, very strong in that area of pushing evolution even more, if that's at all possible. I think you had a question earlier. No?
Yeah, I had heard something in the news just briefly about in Great Britain that they're going to start doing some genetic research on embryos, and they're going to allow them to go in and try to replace certain aspects of the gene. Have you heard anything about that? I didn't hear anything. And I'd like to know what they're doing.
Yeah, that particular bit of news I'm not aware of, but the mixing and matching genes from different species, whatever that means, different animals, yeah, that's known. That's already been done for various reasons. You have goats now producing milk that contains the components of the makings of a spider web. Okay, so yeah, that way you don't have to deal with spider that barely can produce a little bit of this really useful material. You have what was it? I think it's sheep now that glow in the dark. I mean, we're living in on the island of Dr. Moreau right now. That's basically.
Well, this specifically, there was an ethical
Sure.
team in charge in Great Britain that's going to allow it from human embryos.
And that's right around the corner is designer human beings. You can patent DNA. I mean, that's right. We're just on the edge of. I'm telling you, this stuff is going on behind the scenes to where I don't know if one day it's just gonna all explode to the surface, or, you know, basically as it
It's
slowly
leaking
trickles
out.
out, it slowly trickles
It's
out,
leaking out.
and we're slowly just being made more and more used to it, that next you'll hear that we cloned a human being with certain enhancements from other animals, and it'll be like, oh, well, that's neat. So how about the football game, everybody? You know, it'll just be yesterday's news. Yes?
Isn't it some of the television shows that are coming out with the pills to become superhuman? Sort of getting all these ideas ready.
Yeah, and I mean,
A lot of the shows you were showing.
if you think about comic books, all along, I mean, let's see, the Hulk, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four are mutants, right? Captain America is the result of a secret government genetic manipulation experiments. I mean, that's been there for decades and decades, specifically geared toward young people. In fact, last year, at the gym I attend, you know, there's an area where people leave magazines and take magazines. Somebody had left a stack like that of new comic books. I looked through them, and every single one dealt with genetic manipulation, cyborgs, secret government experiments, all of them, every single one. It's just constant, constant, constant. This is just the world that this next generation is being raised into, a technological age. You know, that's why I played that clip from The Atheist talking about the cell phone issue. I call this coming generation sociopath, because they're not psychopath, okay, sociopath, because their emotions are just kind of level, just on the surface, you know. So many of them come from broken homes that, you know, mommy and daddy are constantly bringing in their most recent sex partner du jour. And so the kids learn to not build emotional relationships. Why should I? Because next thing I know, they're going to be gone and the next one's going to come in. So all their emotions are very surface level, and they connect through these devices that are impersonal. In fact, I heard my coworkers once, these younger ladies, saying they prefer to text, because then you could be disingenuous with somebody, and they're not there to hear your tone of voice or see your facial expression. So you can just type whatever you want, and it's just a text. So that's how you get information across. You don't have to interact with another human being anymore.
Dehumanizing.
Dehumanizing, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Anyone else?
37 bits is all you're allowed.
What's that? Oh, the characters? Yeah.
37 characters.
Yeah.
That's it.
One-liners, yeah. Okay, you guys want to start the video? Okay, we'll start, and like I said, just feel whenever you feel
At the Humanics Project,
when you need to.
we recognize that we live in a world of machines. Most of us interact with one form or another from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep.